Okay guys, today what I'd like to do is just have kind of an open discussion with you as we start Unit 3. We want to focus on writing an argumentative essay. So what I'd like to do today is have a discussion with you as to different topics that you can write about. One of the hardest things to do with an argumentative essay is coming up with a good topic to write about. A topic that's typically not too general, a topic that is specific enough that we can write basically a 5-paragraph essay. Okay? So basically you can choose any topic that you wish to write about, as long as it's related to English language teaching and or English language learning or translation, or something related to applied linguistics, or maybe even your linguistics class. Okay, something related to the BA in some way, right? I'll be as flexible as I can about the topic, but choose a topic that you're interested in, of course, but something related to a course that you've already taken, perhaps, or maybe a course that you're taking currently. Okay, maybe like the linguistics. You guys are taking social linguistics?
Yes.
So maybe something, a topic that sparks your interest related to social linguistics. That is also an option. What I would prefer everyone to do today is in some way take notes. Okay, so you can choose to take notes in your notebook or your mobile device. So make sure you have something to write. I think that's the best way to get the most out of this class today, because we really want to try to narrow down some topics. So as we brainstorm, what are some topics that are of interest to you? Some topics that we can discuss today and try to narrow down, because the difficult thing is coming up with, sometimes the topic is really easy, but to come up with something that we can write about for an argumentative essay sometimes can be a challenge. Okay, so that's kind of what I'd like first to kind of think out loud today. What are some general topics that are of interest to you? And we're brainstorming here, so there's no wrong answers. This is not a quiz. There's no right or wrong answer. Feel free to just splurt out something at the top of your head that is of interest to you. It can be something related to social linguistics. It could be something related to your linguistics class. I think you've taken linguistics class. It could be something that's based on your practicum and an experience that you had, right? Maybe with some students that you've had, or maybe you as a learner. Thinking way back when you were learning English, and maybe in elementary school, and you thought, you know, there's a topic there that I wish to write about. There's a topic there that I wish to research, right? Because part of your topic is going and finding articles and books, right? Just like we did in Unit 1. So, I'm all ears, as they say. Take a deep breath. Relax. It could be something related to pronunciation. It could be something related to grammar. It could be something related to teaching strategies with materials. Could be something related to technology. Could be something related to interaction, social interaction, inside the classroom, outside the classroom. Could be something related to culture. Culture is broad, but it could be general. It could be something related to culture. Culture. Feel free to write something out if you're not yet ready to blurt out something. I'm just waiting for the first part. Who's going to be the first person? Just say. Oh. Yes,
for example, the importance of the technology in the classroom.
Okay. So here's a good topic. Technology in the classroom. Now, if this is something you're interested in, think about a specific type of technology, or maybe some examples.
Computers or cell phones.
All right. So one thing is you can decide, okay, type of hardware, type of device. Computers, cell phones, tablets. Now something else you can think about. What are some extensions? What else can you think about when you think about technology? Besides devices.
I mean, not all the students have the opportunity to have a for example, there is a difference between people that are in the rural
Some people have the devices, some people don't have the devices.
So what is the importance to have technology?
Okay, so Alba did something very important right there. She just asked a question. So this is what I would do if I were Alba, and this is what I would do if I were you guys. Think about a topic and then pose a question. What's the question again? How would you pose it again?
What is the importance to use technology in classroom?
Alright, so something about how is it important, or why is it important using technology, devices, something in a classroom. Now, when you guys are thinking about your topic, it's important to come up with some possible questions. Because the answer to the question is going to be your thesis statement. The answer to the question that you finally come up with is going to be the thesis statement. And we know the thesis statement is what? What is the thesis statement? Okay, see it? What is the thesis statement?
When you write your dream and idea that you will be working on the paragraphs.
Okay, so it's typically how many sentences? One sentence. And it's the main idea of the entire essay. So it's the answer to the question, whatever question that you pose. Now, in the question of technology, when you think about a 5-paragraph essay, ask yourself, okay, do I want to talk about certain types of maybe social media? Do I want to talk about maybe connectivity, like broadband?
That technology affect the learners' learning?
You could, yes. How does it affect learning? Now we have technology and learning. So try to be more specific in both what you mean by technology and what you mean by learning. Okay, so like technology, for example, do you mean mobile technology instead of mobile technology being cell phones and tablets, pretty much, and internet connectivity, like where and when do students access the internet? Where? Are they in class? Are they outside of class? Are they at home? Are they at work? Are they in the park? And what do they use? Do they use Facebook, Twitter? Think about the types of technology, think about when, think about where. And then learning, what do you mean by learning? Do you mean learning grammar, pronunciation, culture, content in general? Okay, when you're thinking about your question. Right? So when you guys are thinking about your topic and you're trying to narrow it down, try to think of that question, that one question that is going to be specific enough. Okay, so technology, think about maybe types of technology, think about maybe when or where, think about
si hay una diferencia entre eso que le digo de entre los alumnos de una vida rural que no tienen tanto acceso a la tecnología como es su aprendizaje, ¿qué tanta diferencia existe entre esos?
Yeah, so yes, you could talk about their differences, but do remember that the objective of this unit is an argumentative essay. So when you start to write your thesis, you're going to need to try to persuade someone something, to do something or to think differently. You're going to persuade someone to either think differently or to take action. That's your objective. So it could include talking about the differences, that's fine, but at the end of the day, you're going to say, this is better than this. You should do this. Teachers should do this. Learners should do this. The government should do this. Think about your target audience. When you're taking notes today, brainstorm. Who is going to be the target audience? Now, people probably are not going to be your target audience. We want to narrow it down. Is it going to be teachers? Is it going to be pre-service teachers, like teachers in training? Or is it going to be experienced teachers? Is it going to be students? Is it going to be parents? Is it going to be the government? Is it going to be whomever? Think about the audience when you're thinking about posing the question. Who's the audience?
I was thinking about a topic, it could be poverty and the use of Creole.
So poverty and
And the
use.
use of Creole.
I'm sorry, I didn't catch the last one.
Creole? Like begins and Creole?
Creole.
Creole. Creole. Okay, so poverty and the use of Creole, and that's fine as long as you are thinking in terms of a persuasive.
Like trying to persuade that actually, if you have a lower social status or low social status, they're more likely to speak more Creole than normal language.
Okay, and who are you trying? Who would be the target audience?
Students, or
Okay.
students, like we are students of linguistics.
Okay, so linguistic students, and what are you trying to persuade them to do or to think differently? About what?
About the use of Creole and in regards to social status.
All right. I'm still trying to visualize the persuasiveness. So,
Because there might be people that think that you use the language just because and not because of the social status.
okay. So, for example, your classmates would be the target audience? And so how are they thinking now that you say, no, I want to change their mind? How are they thinking in general, not maybe you guys?
Then it will be backwards. Because I think they know that Creole is spoken by more like low social status people.
Okay.
Low social status. Yeah, right. You know that. I think you know that.
So what do you want to persuade them to think differently about?
Okay, I was trying to persuade them to think that the poor people, speak Creole, but that's what they know. So I need to persuade them to think that you base your language or your spoken language on your social status.
Okay, my suggestion would be, it sounds kind of descriptive. It sounds like you want to just inform, like you just want to explain something. And the purpose that I want you to think about is, how can you persuade someone? Let me give you an example. So in Alice's case, if she's saying that cell phones, I mean, it could be something like cell phones, mobile devices. Cell phones should be used, or maybe they shouldn't be used. Maybe she says cell phones should not be used in class because a lot of students don't have access to information. She has to choose for or against. Remember that we talked about claims. You guys need to be for something or against something, and your job is to persuade someone else to think what you're thinking. So that is the context for this essay, is for you to choose a side. It's like, it's como un debate, it's like a debate. And you have to take a position. And so think about whether you're describing, comparing, and contrasting, whether you're explaining, okay, all of those are possible, but it's within the context of a debate. Right? This is kind of a debate, but it's in writing. You're going to pose both sides, but you're going to take a position. You're going to choose a position, and your job as the writer is to persuade someone else to think that way. So if it's easier to think of it like a debate, so there's two sides. Yes, cell phone should be used. No, cell phone should not be used. You choose a side and you form your argument based on the other. Yes.
Por ejemplo, en el texto podemos hablar solamente como a favor, o tiene que ser a favor, en contra y ya.
Exactly. And mañana vamos a explain, tomorrow we're going to explain more in detail. But yes, Alan is exactly right. We need to be able to explain both sides, but you choose a side. It's like, if I'm for cell phones in the classroom, that's my position. I'm gonna say, okay, cell phones should be used, but you know, sometimes cell phones should be used, but at the end of the day, cell phones should be used because of this. That's going to be more or less your argument. So when you're thinking about your topic, make sure that you feel comfortable explaining both sides. If you say, no, I'm just going to explain for, well, that's not a good argument. You might think, oh, it's a great argument because I have all this for, but I don't say anything about the other side. It's actually a weak argument. So make sure that your decisions about, okay, what am I going to talk about? I want to narrow it down. I feel comfortable, and I think, I haven't looked, but I think I can find information online. This is just a brainstorm. This is to get the ball rolling. If you think right now, oh, there's no way that I could find information against, well, then maybe that's not a good topic. In fact, it isn't a good topic. So a good topic for us is going to be a debate, two sides where it's a good argument for both. It's a good argument to say cell phone should be used. It's also a pretty good argument to say no, cell phone should be used. But you have to choose what's your position and take a side and form the argument. Okay? So like Chris, think about it. We can talk about it again. Think about the topics. What are you trying to persuade? And think about your target audience. George, did you have or someone else?
Yes, can I write about gender neutrality in English language?
Gender neutrality.
Yeah.
Gender neutrality. So who's your target audience?
I don't know, for example, like students or people who, yeah, could learn English, because if this thing is like from the language will change, and they need to restudy or rethink at least the complete language.
Alright. So gender neutrality in what context? Are you
For
thinking
example, I have some point like for puestos de trabajo, how do you say?
like job positions?
Positions that is more used the term businessman or mailman, and they are promoting like just say male carrier or male woman is the one who gives you the mail is a woman.
Alright. So are you interested only in the linguistics, like the language part of it? Think about your persuasion. Think about who do you want to persuade? What is your position on this?
It's more like against.
You're against.
Well, I have information from both sides.
So you're against gender-specific language? Is that
No,
what you mean?
against gender neutrality in language.
You're against gender neutrality. So what you want to say is they should say like policeman.
In some things, for example, in my 3 points, one is like the background, like in the past they use this and this and this. But for example, some literature can be like changed. Classical literature can be changed if they start including gender neutrality. But on the other side, it says that, for example, more women are able to get a job or something like that if in the advice it says that it uses a gender neutral language. So that's a point for.
Okay.
And the other is like against. I have proposed
Okay,
sides.
okay, alright. Okay, I think that's a good topic to think about. I want you to think specifically about the audience, to try to narrow this down. So imagine you were in a situation, okay, that you would have to present this 5-paragraph essay to, or you would have to speak to. Think about the context where that would be the most useful for you to state your case, to state your position. Okay, and maybe we can talk about that again. I think the idea is okay, but I need to know, I think we need to define early who the target audience is. And if it helps, think about a situation where you would have to present this text, right? You would have to give it, who would you give it to? What would you expect for them to think differently about, or even take action? Think about maybe you persuading them to actually do something differently as a result of your argument. Okay.
That is a good topic. I'm right about it.
Yeah, for right now, everything's preliminary. What I mean by preliminary is because when you guys start to look and research and look for articles, you might say, I can't find something, right? So right now, the first step is to kind of brainstorm. Think about being specific. Think about maybe 3 or 4 reasons for, 2 or 3 reasons against, and make sure you get these down in your notes. Think about the audience, and then we'll start researching and continuing to talk about it. We don't have to decide everything today. Today's our first step, trying to kind of brainstorm.
I have what is important to develop the listening skill. Why? It's because it's good because you understand, but I know I have the communicative approach.
Alright, so against would be the
Communicative approach. Before they used to only listen, but they didn't communicate with each other. And now they do.
So are you for or against this?
For.
Okay, so you're for practicing the listening skill in isolation?
In the class.
Right, but what I mean by isolation is, like, the communicative approach would be like an integration of the skills, and listening would be one of those, right? Versus, no, it's better to learn it in isolation. Is that kind of, so your argument would be, okay, I think it's better for students to learn listening individually, like just by itself, just practicing listening only, not speaking and reading and writing, just listening. Versus, no, I think it's better to integrate the 4 skills. Is that your argument? Okay. So think about your audience. Who would be your audience? The teachers. Okay. So that's a possible topic. Okay. And I think you can find information on both. Yes.
I'm not sure, but maybe I was thinking about say that using in a class, for example, if it's us in this case, Spanish and English, to use both languages. It's not necessary to just talk English, but you can use both languages during the class.
Okay. All right. So your argument would be, one side would be L1, L2, the use of actually L1, the use of L1, versus no L1, only L2.
Yeah.
Like the direct approach.
Yeah, direct approach only using. Well, I think I'm going to be against just using.
Okay. I think that's a possibility. Yes, I think you can find information on both things. But when you guys do searches, when you do search in your case, L1, L2, those would be key terms. Authentic. Not authentic. Mother tongue, target language. Code switching might be another key topic, like from linguistics, say code switching, and the reasons for code switching. Yeah, just ideas like reason for code switching could be something. Yep.
And I think the audience would be the teachers. So when they when they can use, in that case, use L1.
Right, and you can be specific depending. It could be, you know, novice teachers, new teachers. It could be experienced teachers. Depends on the situation. It could be monolingual teachers that don't speak the target language, whatever. So yeah, but yeah, that's a possibility.
And I forgot what I was going to say. I forgot.
That's okay. If it comes back, I'll bring it up.
I have maybe a topic. It could be like the use of the real values and the ones that are predetermined to use in English. That's
So authentic versus non-authentic materials. Okay. So you would be for authentic, or are you against authentic?
in my case, I think that it depends, but maybe I can go for the authentic.
Okay. In the past, some students who have chosen that topic have had a challenge finding both sides. So I don't want to say, I want to encourage you to take a look at it, and you let me know when you start, if you have problems finding information.
Thank you.
Think very carefully about the target audience and the specifics of authentic or non-authentic. For example, you might be more specific, like even technology with a type of authentic. You could go with a type of authentic versus another, the same type of non-authentic. It just depends on what you find. So keep an open mind when you start looking for authentic, non-authentic. You use those keywords, but also look for examples of, for example, books. I mean, the easiest example. Authentic books and non-authentic books.
What could be an authentic book?
So an authentic book could be
Like
a user manual for a TV. I mean, that's a book. It's authentic because it's not designed for teaching and learning. Necessarily, it's a manual. Basically, an authentic book would be any book that exists that's not intended for the classroom, right? It's not really intended for teaching and learning. It's a manual, it's a Bible, it's a, whatever book that you would normally come across that's not for teaching and learning. It's not designed, I should say. That's not the intent.
I was thinking more like in the audios, like, I don't know, maybe, like they don't go like with the same speed.
That's fine. My point here is when, authentic, non-authentic might be too broad. So if you find an example like audio, then stick with audio. It's all about audio. Authentic audio, non-authentic audio, and then find 2 or 3 points for each side.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Can't help that?
I remember what I said. I was going to say that I think I have also like a positive and like negative point about using Spanish in the classroom. That could be that sometimes maybe it is necessary just to use English depending on the activity or depending on what they want to learn. I'm not sure, maybe that could be.
That could be one of your points for
Like giving in favor to just talking English, but like you said, at the end of the day, using Spanish and English is
right.
important.
Right. Just think about, and tomorrow what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you. I have a graphic organizer. We'll talk more specifically about the organization. But for now, just make sure you guys can think of possible counter arguments. Right. Sometimes the main argument's easy, right? Sometimes it's the counter argument, like the opposite. Somebody's going to disagree with you. So you have to anticipate what they're going to say. So think about the other points. and try to choose 2 points that have a good argument both ways. Right, both ways. And if you're not sure, this is the perfect time to say, hey, I'm not really sure, I'm thinking about this, but I don't know if this is, see, you can have that type of conversation.
Can it be like reels as languages?
Real, I'm sorry?
Reels?
Reals?
Reels as languages.
As long as you frame it as an argumentative.
Yeah, yeah. For example, because many people tend to think that a Creole is not a specific language or is not a language at all. So then we would like the topic, make them or make them.
Alright, so you're arguing for recognizing it as a.
As language.
And so some people think that it's not a language?
Yeah, well, that's what we were saying in social linguistics, because like people that don't understand social linguistics or linguistics at all think that the Creole that they speak it's the only Creole that exists in all the world. So many people tend to use or tend to think that, or for example, it can be like here with dialects in Mexico. They think that like indigenous people who speak their own language, they are speaking actually a dialect, but that's not true. So I want to make them think or realize that what they are speaking is a specific language. A Creole is a specific language, and not a Creole or a dialect.
Yeah, my concern is the definition of it's a real language. What that means in some sort of argumentative situation, like because if it's just about belief, it's going to be a hard argument. You know what I mean? It's like saying, does God exist? God exists. That's one side. And then people say, no, God doesn't exist. Okay, that's a debate. 2 sides. But to try to find evidence and to support, it gets a little bit, and I'm not saying it's quite like that, but it's a little bit like that if it's just a belief. I believe that it's not a language because whatever. So I'll let you, we'll just see if you can find some articles. If you feel that you can find some good articles and some reasons with support, that's fine. But it's difficult to debate just based on beliefs.
Yeah, I mean, for example, in Creole, it is like a language because it has grammar structure and specific grammar structure as well as its own vocabulary. So that is why it becomes a language and not just a Creole.
Okay,
or
but the other side, that's my concern.
Oh.
I understand and agree with you completely, right?
Yeah,
I feel like one side is like super easy, but the other side.
And the other side.
I mean, people saying, how can you prove that there's no vocabulary? You know what I mean? It's like,
yeah.
like if I'm against it, really the only thing I can say is I just feel it that way. I mean, that's my belief. Maybe I'm prejudiced or whatever, but so that's my concern. So think about it and just make sure that you can find the other argument, you know, the counter argument that's going to disagree with your position, and then you can find evidence to support it. Yeah.
Is it okay if I use like the use of a cursor? It's necessary or not for
I'm sorry, the use of
cursor?
coursebook. The use of coursebook versus.
Necessary or not? Like using a cursor is important in a class or it's not that relevant in a class?
Yeah, I'm thinking though, like evidence-based, looking for articles that only support the use of, because since the course book's only one material,
Because
It might-
there are some schools that tell you you wanna learn without any book, so it's important to.
Okay, now that's different. Don't use any books at all. Like there's some that say, okay, no. Now I would ask also, is this also about materials? No materials, or just books? Okay, maybe that's better than course book, like one book. If you say the use of books versus no books, maybe, yeah. I mean, I think that's a possibility if you can find articles for both sides. And I would look for Dogme, D-O-G-M-E, Dogme method. I think that's right, Dogme method. Or Dogma, Dogme or Dogma?
Sounds more like dogma.
But Dogma, I don't think it's Dogma, I think it's Dogme. I'll double check it, but I think Dogme is, but it's a basically approach where you don't use any materials.
Okay, thanks.
That's one, yeah, so you can look up, there's some, topics there. Now, just make sure that you can find support for using books. Somebody's saying, hey, you should use books. That may, I don't know, may be difficult. Next. Vamos bien. Anybody not have any idea what you're right about? You want to talk?
Okay, I was thinking about how linguistic variation changes according to the social classes. But I don't know if there is a side in which they say that it doesn't
Influence. What? You said influence, no? Influence. Okay.
They use, I don't know, like if I want to talk about how like linguistic variations appear or are different in the social classes according to the social classes. But I don't know if there is the side in which they say that like there is
Maybe you could find, tell me if this is something like you're thinking about. Like, you could say something like a certain variation of some language is certain variation of English is better for a certain type of situation, a social situation. Like, if you could argue that, okay, this type of variation is better for this type of situation, and then the other one would be, no, it doesn't matter.
yes.
Something like that. But you
Like
need
in
to,
social classes,
so you need to define more specifically. What are we talking about? Are we talking about dating? Are we talking about getting a job? Are we talking about... That's the challenge here. So they come up with some sort of social context.
the language, like logical, technology,
But you're persuading. This is the thing.
that's why I told you I don't know if there is a point in that social,
I
the
don't
contrary.
Yeah, but I don't even see what insight is. I mean,
It's because we're talking about like social variation and linguistic variation. And they say like some authors like made some studies where they found data specified in social classes, and they found like different or variations, linguistic variations. For example, they say like lower classes use like he goes, for example, and
but for me, I don't see that as a, I mean, all that's true. This sounds more like just a descriptive, like, or an explanatory. And so what we have to do is try to convince somebody think differently, to change their mind. And that's what I don't quite see in this example, like, what's the debate? I mean, is somebody, what are you for, and what's the counter argument? What is
Si había diferencia entre, si de verdad hay una diferencia entre las, si entre las clases sociales te dice cómo vas a usar el lenguaje o no. Porque esto muestra que sí, que hay una variación, pero yo no sé si es por eso que dije que no sé si hay un punto en el que diga que no tiene nada que ver la social class con la manera en que tú usas el lenguaje.
Yeah, it seems a little bit difficult. I can't think of one either, to be honest. I mean, I can't see that. I don't see a debate there. I mean, think about it. I mean, if you can come up with, maybe do some reading and see if you find something, you can write about it. But for me, right now, the way you're presenting it, I don't see necessarily a debate there. That maybe there's a certain social class. I mean, if you want to say that a certain high social class has a certain type of English variation, and then somebody else says, no, it doesn't, maybe, if you can find evidence for that, maybe. But I don't know. Yeah. Okay, think about it. See if you can. Jackie? Okay, specifically, what type of technology are you using? And are you for or against? For? Now, PowerPoint might be too specific. Or think about either types of technology or social media, or even particular like games. There's a lot of information about gaming. Should you use games in class or should you not use games? That could be another one. I think PowerPoint only is a little bit too specific. So, but you can. So think about your target audience. Is this for elementary school for kids? Is this for adults? Is this so that you're thinking about, and you're going to persuade. Your job is to persuade a teacher to either use gaming or not. But you need to find information on both sides. So look up words like gamification. Gamification is a term used for gaming or in a classroom. You look up badges as part of gamification. Badges, like a police badge. BADGE. Badges is another concept that you can look up, get some information that's kind of related to gaming. Karen? Anyone else? Ideas?
I want something related to language acquisition.
Language acquisition, like,
I don't know.
I would recommend not choosing, some students like to choose like language acquisition versus language learning. And I wouldn't do that.
Just focus on language acquisition. Like, in some authors, like Tchaikovsky, or I don't know, como otro es contra, no es tanto.
I mean, if you're looking, well, Vygotsky, of course, I mean, that's a theory, and that's a little bit broad. You might take, for example, Krashen would be general, but one of his hypotheses, you talk, not all of them, but you talk about one of them, maybe monitoring, you could be for or against, or, So then take one of these theoretical concepts, Vygotsky social cultural theory, the input theory, Krashen's input theory, but take a little piece of that and try to maybe persuade, take a position on one side or the other. Christine? You guys will that done? That's fine. Tomorrow we'll talk a little more specifically about the structure. We'll continue to talk about your topic, so really think about questions. Come to class tomorrow with some questions that you want to ask specifically about your topic, and we can dedicate more time also to clarify those doubts. Okay? So we'll see you guys tomorrow. Christine, think about it, or if you have something today. Yes.
Well,
Ah, no.